Welcome to Glasgow's Glad Cafe, and welcome to live stream hosted by Independence Live. First up tonight with a monologue performed by Iain Robertson. It's called Close. It's written by Kieran Hurley and first performed by Theatre Uncut. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Iain.
They always said it was going to be close. September 19th, 2014. You awake to the alarm going off on your mobile phone. You stare at it as you notice the familiar sound of bin men rattling through the lanes outside. Reaching out for your phone, you hold it, squeaking in your hand, blinking dumb at the thing as your slow, seeping mind slowly chugs into gear and tries to remember why you'd set it in the first place. Oh, aye. That. The plan last night had been to stay up and watch it on the telly. Up through the night, drinking with friends, till the results come in the morning. Make an event of it. A sense of occasion. But you'd been excited in the weeks leading up to it, but these last few days you hadn't quite been up to it. Your friends had said you'd been working too hard. It was all the campaigning. The celebration would do you good. After that, you could get some rest. Everyone was gathered. Everything was there. The whiskey, the beers, the wine, the wee bowls of crisps. Some of those plastic disposable trays with the wee compartments that each contained different wee shapes of pretzel. A playlist or two containing a selection of appropriate pop songs that someone had judged to be thematically appropriate. It was all there. But there was nothing left to say. Of course there was. If the date had been sent a month or a week or a day later, there would be loads left to say. Loads to consider, to imagine, discuss, debate, reflect on, argue over. But it wasn't set for a month or a day or a week later. It was set in September the 18th, 2014. And now we'd all voted, those of us that did. And here we were, gathered together, suddenly, unexpectedly, anxiously, and quite nakedly silent. You'd poured yourself a long measure of Talisker and sipped from it. Sat in the corner and watched your pals stare at each other, terrified, giddy and blank, willfully pretending that these were any ideal communal conditions in which to have a fucking party. You normally love Talisker, but tonight it sat uneasy in your palate and burned your insides. A man you didn't know made a patronising comment about starting off on something a wee bit sweeter until you develop a taste for it. You topped up your glass and turned away. After that, you drank quickly and with purpose, and alone. And once you'd made it halfway down the bottle, you slid it into your jacket pocket and walked out unannounced onto the street and towards home. And the streets were strangely quiet, well, for the most part. Earlier on, the roads on the way to the polling stations were lined with brightly dressed campaigners for all sides. They were campaigning, waving flags and smiling, competing for the award for most friendly and optimistic group. While vans of police and G4S patrolled the streets with an eye out for disorder, somewhere between a UN peacekeeping scenario and a village fete. But now, nothing. The world was changing. You'd come round to that idea a few weeks back, that there was no such thing as a vote for no change. The world was changing anyway. Nothing stays the same and the future is never known. Like anything, it seems obvious now, but it'd been hard work arriving there. Nobody was making a vote for no change. Whether they liked it or not, that was impossible. The vote that you were making was for the situation you thought could bring about change in the best possible way. You'd put up with patronising pleas from celebrities on both sides. You'd put up with being called a Nazi, and you'd listen to the other side be called Nazis too. You'd put up with all of this because it had been exciting. The conversation that was happening in town hall type meetings, on the internet, on street corners and overheard in cafes, bus stops and living rooms and kitchens all up and down the country. These that were already strides ahead of the tired old television debates. Two boring men in suits arguing over who is the bank manager. Watching them, you chucked a shoe at the telly in anger. But afterwards, you took pleasure in how redundant they were. Because it wasn't about them. It was about us. Your long coat with the brown zip was broken, and the cold air of the chill of the Edinburgh night had blown against you, so you tucked it past the Parliament building at the foot of the mile with its controversial architecture rising up out of the land as if somehow claiming to be part of it. You passed Holyrood Palace and the Queen's Gallery. Whatever happens, she stays. And you wound on through the path up toward the park. And you knew you weren't supposed to walk this way alone at night, but it was quickest, and these were your streets, and you were in no meat to be polluted by fear. The swans lay sleeping in the water of the loch, deadly still like porcelain ornaments. You could just about make out the old ruin on the hill silhouetted against the starry sky. You'd thought that this might even be a nice place to sit for a while and watch the dawn arrive, but your legs kept going quicker and quicker towards home. At home you made another dent in that bottle of Talisker, staring out the window at the small part of town it looked over, with the house lights all switched off. Whiskey soaked and feeling unusually queasy, you staggered to bed. And you must have set an alarm for the morning, out of a drunken fear of, I don't know, missing it somehow. And so now you sit up in bed with all this flooding back to you, phone still squeaking in your hand. Oh, aye. That. You switch it off and you head next door with your head hurting and your heart racing, tap, tap, tapping away and stuck in your throat. You pick up the remote, slump into the couch, switch on the telly. There it is. They always said it was going to be close. And my, was it close. But there it is. The other side have won. And that's that. What else to say? You notice, I suppose you could mention that you notice on the telly they are showing footage of a man, a politician. Now you know the one that you hate more than the other one. And he's waving. And words are scrolling along the bottom of the screen the way they do, and he is waving in his suit the way that they do, and he is waving to some people, and he looks happy. Well, not happy exactly, more like relief. You know, like an unusually, disarmingly genuine emotion, a real deep relief, because when all is said and done, he has won. And there are people standing in street corners, draped in the flag of their choice, and they are silent and stunned and sick-looking, bereft. And there are people gathered in community centres where the walls are hung in the flag of their choice, and they are cheering for the cameras, and you can't understand what it is they're cheering for, and you've tried all year. And though you can't, you wish that you could. And then there's a woman now, and she's interviewing two grey-haired men in the rain, one of whom has won and one of whom has lost. And she asks them, what now? And you're sure that you notice a tiny silence, a pause, a beat, in which they look at each other and they don't seem to know what to say. They don't even know who the question is even for. They don't even know whose job it is to answer. And then the moment is gone. And one of them, the one who won, he opens his mouth and spills out the usual platitudes, the well-rehearsed demonstrations of management competence. But in your hazy, hungover mind on this morning, more than ever, his words fall flat on the floor between the television set and yourself. They fall flat on the living room floor, and your mind drifts off. And you think of that shiny politician's face smiling in relief. You think of the flag wavers cheering and the other ones distraught. What now? And you get to thinking about everything that was poured into this moment. The energy, the thinking, the collectivity, the daring for once to imagine how we might do things differently. To accept that something needs to shift and to work out how we might begin to do that. What now? The silence at the party last night when it all just stopped. Had we really cast everything we'd had into the ballot boxes? All those energies, all those hopes. Had we really suddenly, without this, forgotten what to say? What now? That was never meant to happen. There's an old lady outside your window who's walking her dog. The neighbour's radio plays. The people on the screen are cheering for the camera. And you want to ask them. I mean, it's on them to tell you. Surely, what now? But that's never how it was. That was not how it was supposed to be. It was never about them and us. That's not how you saw it. And so it's on you as much as anyone. Because this is where we find ourselves. This is where we are. Whiskey hangover, politician smiles, flag wavers cheer. We're all still here. We are here, you see. We are all still here, and it carries on. Outside, the bin men rattle through the lanes. An unopened bill sits perched on the coffee table and you hide it under yesterday's newspaper. You switch off the television set and you get up. What now? You pour yourself a glass of water. What now? The clock is ticking. What now? What now? What now?